The last video you'll need to watch to understand Passover, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and First Fruits. I'm going to preface this video with the fact that I received this knowledge directly from Yahuah. I fasted and prayed for wisdom and guidance to obey these appointed times correctly. If you disagree, that's on you. I am not here to judge your ways. I'm merely here to share with you the ways of Yahuah. With that being said, let's get into what Yahuah wants me to share with you. This image represents the Passover and the beginning of the Feast of Unleavened Bread when Yahusha was here. Let's start at the top. Hebrew days are evening to evening. I've covered this topic in another video, but this video will confirm it. In Genesis 1 we read, "And evening and morning were the first day." And so, we are looking at Sunday to Saturday as we know it in our Babylonian calendars. Passover is always on Ab Yab 14. "Speak thee unto all the assembly of Yasharel, saying, In the 10th day of this month they shall take to them every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for a house." Shavuot, Exodus 12-3. Yahusha was the lamb chosen on the 10th. Now before the feast of the Pesach, when Yahusha knew that his hour was come that he should depart out of this world unto the Father, having loved his own which were in the world, he loved them unto the end. Yuchanan John 13-1. So, you see there, it was before the Pesach. Yahusha had the Last Supper with his disciples that evening, because they arrested him right after. And supper being ended, the devil having now put into the heart of Yehuda, Yash Youth, Simon's son, to betray him. Yochanan John 13-2. Then the band and the captain and officers of the Yehudim took Yahusha and bound him, Yuchanan John 18:12, and led him away to Canaan Yehu first, for he was father-in-law to Kapha, which was the high priest that same year. Yuchanan John 18:13. So we can see there that they arrested him and took him away, and it was after the Last Supper he had with his disciples. Then we count the first night that he was in the belly of the beast, just like Yonah was in the belly of the whale for 3 days and 3 nights. Many have taken this verse literally and assumed it was how long he was in the tomb. But he was not in the tomb 3 days and 3 nights. Stay with me. On the 11th at evening was the first night that Yahusha was in captivity, and the 11th was the first day. Then 12th evening began the second night. The 12th was the second day Yahusha was in captivity. Then the 13th evening began the third night. Then the 13th was the third day. We know that the Babylonian Friday is preparation day. Now, let's look at verses that show this to be correct. "And Paltus wrote a title and put it on the stake, and the writing was, Yahusha the Nazarene and King of the Yahud Yam." Yuchanan John 19:19. But how do I know that this happened on the 13th? Because Yahuah told me to find the witness in Esther 3:12. "Then were the king's scribes called on the 13th day of the first month, and there was written according to all that Haman had commanded unto the king's lieutenants, and to the governors that were over every province, and to the rulers of every people of every province according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language. In the name of King Achashverosh was it written and sealed with the king's ring." Esther 3:12. We see here that it was on the 13th day that there was an assembly, and that the name of the king was written and sealed, just as Paltus or Pilate wrote on the stake that Yahusha is king of the Yahud Yam. "And they shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month. And the whole multitude of the assembly of Yasharel shall kill it in the evening." Shavuot, Exodus 12-6. There laid they Yahusha therefore because of the Yahudians' preparation day, for the sepulchre was nigh at hand. Yuchanan, John, 1942. The Babylonian Friday is preparation day, and they had to prepare Yahusha's body before the Shabath. They shall leave none of it unto the morning, nor break any bone of it. According to all the ordinances of the Pesach they shall keep it. Sephar Bamidbar. Numbers 9:12. Yahuah comes on Passover Eve at midnight. Now on that certain Shabath came Miriam of Migdal early, when it was yet dark, unto the sepulchre, and saw the stone taken away from the sepulchre. Yuchanan, John, 20:1. And so, the tomb was empty by morning on the 14th, as the Passover law commands. Miriam showed up on the Shabath morning while it was still dark. Now the next day, that followed the day of the preparation, the chief priests and Parashiam came together unto Payal Tuz, Mattathiyahu, Matthew 27-62, saying, Sir, we remember that deceiver said, while he was yet alive, After 3 days I will rise again. Mattathiyahu, Matthew 27:63. This is another witness to it being the previous evening, because Miriam showed up in the morning the same day before dawn. The 13th was the 3rd day that Yahusha was in the belly of the beast. He was set free at evening when he was pierced, just as the Yahud Yam would slay the lamb for Passover Eve. Now we know that Christianity has made the first day of the week a celebration they call Easter for the resurrection. Let's talk about what really happened that day. Christians celebrate the day that Yahusha went into the city of Galilee as the so-called Resurrection Day. But Yahusha was at the assembly we are to attend on the 15th day as we are commanded. And he shall wave the sheaf before Yahuah, to be accepted for you. On the morrow after the Shabath, the priest shall wave it. Akra, Leviticus 23:11. Tor'um is the priest who accepted the first fruits and waved it, because he had to see it with his own eyes. The Pharisees and Sadducees were not the priests of Yahuah. Yahusha rebuked them, and after 8 days again his Talmud Yam were within, and Tor'um with them. Then came Yahusha, the doors being shut, and stood in the midst, and said, Peace be unto you. Yuchanan, John, 20:26. Yahusha waited 8 days to present himself as first fruit to Tor'um. First fruits is always on the first day, so-called Sunday, and the first day after the Shabath that is during the week of unleavened bread. It is the Shabath that comes after the first evening of unleavened bread, on the 15th, which begins the evening after the Passover day. We begin with the Passover Eve dinner, which is only lamb and unleavened bread. And I must pause here. Yahusha is my lamb. If you're one who eats lamb or is able to slay a spotless one, because you feel convicted to, that's between you and Yahuah. The only things you're to eat Passover Eve is lamb and unleavened bread with bitter herbs. It's okay if you only eat the bread. See Numbers 9:11 and Exodus 12-8. Eat the flesh that night with matzah and bitter herbs. And so we begin at the 14th, which is called Eb Yab in Exodus, and we have our Passover dinner at evening, and leave none left by morning. This is the beginning of 14 Eb Yab. On the evening of the 15th day, the beginning of 15 Eb Yab begins, and we start our week of unleavened bread as commanded. Now we see that there is only one Shabath, in yellow highlights, during the week of unleavened bread. This is how we determine first fruits. It is always on the first day or so-called Sunday, and the day after the Shabath during this feast. The Passover Eve happened before a Shabath day, or so-called Friday evening, and the first evening of unleavened bread started after the Shabath Saturday evening, the year they slaughtered our lamb. This is why first fruits was on that so-called Sunday. and why Passover and Easter changes dates every year. We begin counting the 50 days to Shavuot from the Shabath during this feast week. You start counting the day of first fruits, and after the 7th Shabath is Shavuot, Pentecost. And ye shall eat neither bread, nor parched grain, nor green ears, until the selfsome day that ye have brought an offering unto your Yahuah Yam. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. Uakra, Leviticus 23:14. And ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the Shabath, from the day that they brought the sheaf of the wave offering. 7 Shabaths shall be complete. Yakra, Leviticus 23:15. And in the day of Yam, when ye bring a renewed oblation unto Yahuah, in your Shabuath, ye shall have a Kadush assembly. Ye shall do no servile work. Safar Bamdabar, Numbers 28-26. Even unto the morrow after the 7th Shabath shall ye number 50 days, and they shall offer a renewed oblation unto Yahuah. Yakra, Leviticus 23:16. Now, I'd like to show you how you can figure this out for yourself on a 2026 calendar, so that you will not have to depend on others to give you the dates for appointed feasts in the future. First, you will go to any calendar and find Passover. No matter what date it is on your Babylonian calendar, it is Abiab 14. And then you know to have your Passover dinner the evening before. Then, you start your first evening of unleavened bread, the beginning of the 15th, and count to the 21st at evening. Night 1, day 1, night 2, day 2, night 3, day 3, night 4, day 4, night 5, day 5, night 6, day 6, night 7, day 7, and end at evening. We are eating unleavened bread for 8 days because you get circumcised at 8 days, beginning with the unleavened bread at Passover Eve, and ending on the 21st at evening. Eat unleavened bread from Passover Eve to the 21st at evening, and it is 8 days. And here, let's pause and remember that we are to remove all leavened bread and chametz from our homes before the Passover. Now we can count backwards from the Passover date to find the New Year day. 1 Abiab. You can also find it on most Jewish calendars, but the point in this video is to teach you how to calculate the dates yourself, and teach you why Yahusha showed us the correct way. He is our teacher. I'm not a teacher. I'm only doing what he told me to do. The new year starts near the spring solstice. There are many mashpaka who are on a calendar that says the new year is the day of the spring solstice. I know that this makes sense, but it doesn't when you consider that the new moon is actually the new month. The first new moon after the spring solstice is the New Year day. Now let's count to first fruits, and then the 50 days to Shavuot. So start with the first evening of unleavened bread. Then look for the first Shabath after. The first day, so-called Sunday. After that Shabath is first fruits. You begin counting 50 days, including that day, and find Shavuot. Shavuot law deserves its own video. And if Yahuah desires me to do one, I will. But I will say that the importance of it is about receiving the Ruach HaKadosh. When you look at your Babylonian calendar, you will see that in 2026, Pentecost is on May 24th, the same as we just counted to, and they have Easter as April 5th. Now you can understand the cheat sheet for these appointed times are to find the pagan holiday of Easter and Pentecost and celebrate them as Yahuah intended. No pagan bunny rabbits or bloody eggs. If you wish to double-check their calculations, now you know how to. I'm sure this video will trigger some people, so let's get it out of the way now. Argument 1. Yahusha was with his disciples for 40 days. You are correct. to whom also he showed himself alive after his passion by many infallible proofs, being seen of them 40 days, and speaking of the things pertaining to the kingdom of Eluayam. Ma'ashiam, Acts 1:3. He wasn't with all of them until the 8th day, when he had to show Tor his hands and his side where they pierced him. When you count to 40 days that he was with them all from the first fruits, then you remember that he had to prove his servants. Prove your servants, I beseech you, 10 days, and let them give us pulse to eat and water to drink. Daniel 1:12. And at the end of 10 days their countenances appeared fairer and fatter in flesh than all the children which did eat the portion of the king's meat. Daniel 1:15. You see, he had to leave them for 10 days to see if they could follow him after he ascended. Then he sent his Ruach HaKadosh to comfort them as he vowed. Argument 2. Christians are the synagogue of Satan 2.0, and we're not to celebrate their pagan holidays. You are correct. You are to show up at the appointed times of Yahuah, no matter which date on the Babylonian calendar they fall on. Have you considered that you might be blinded by your hatred for those who have lied and attempted to steal the kingdom? Doing things your own way makes you just like them. Obeying Yahuah does not make you just like them. I don't claim this knowledge as my own. I fasted and prayed for understanding, and Yahuah gives me far more than I ask for. He is not the author of confusion, and I truly hope you can now see that this is not that complicated or a burden. All esteem to Yahuah,